stand together, stand tall, tell the government you're mad as hell, no longer cooperate with the government, do not accept the national ID card, do everything in your power to restore freedom and your individuality back to America. Stop being a country run by the institutions for the institutions. Let's go back to we the people, by the people, for the people, as opposed to we the institution, by the institution, for the institution. Stand up for your individual rights. Stand up for the godliness that's in each and every one of us.
That was the voice of Aaron Russo, the late, great director, film producer, passed away in 2007. And his last major work was the famous America, Freedom to Fascism.
Great documentary.
Which came out in 2002. And that was actually his last message, his final words to the American people. He was a big libertarian activist. And we just recently watched his film, Freedom to Fascism, and it just kind of is what inspired us to start this podcast here. We are the writers of Brohan. This is Prometheus, your host, along with my co-host. Tell us your name.
I am William Revere.
William Revere.
So,
this podcast is going to explore all kinds of, I guess you could say, exo topics. Now, what do I mean by that? That's kind of a clumsy umbrella term, but basically anything outside the ordinary. We're looking at, paranormal stuff, conspiracy theory type stuff.
Planet X, Nibiru.
Exactly.
All the topics that people in the mainstream media and people are just basically uncomfortable with to begin with.
Yeah.
So,
if you enjoy Alex Jones' late night content on the History Channel, and
Coast to Coast, our great friend,
Coast AM, Joe Rogan podcast, to kind of throw all that stuff together, and you're going to find something to like here. So let's, without further ado, let's just dive right into it. This is our first podcast, so we're focusing on getting the basics down first, and it's going to get bigger and better from here. But first, this episode here, we're going to be focusing on what exactly is the Federal Reserve System and the income tax that we are all required to pay every year. That's coming up again this year. April 15th is coming up. It's the time of year we all have to hand over third or whatever the fuck it is of our income over to the big daddy government. And would you be at all surprised to know that there is no actual law requiring you to do this?
Right. And that's probably one of the most stunning things is that if you go, to the average person on the side of the street and you ask them, hey, look, would it surprise you to know that there's no legal reason for you to pay and report your income to the IRS? And, most people would be stunned, as only a few people have successfully fought it in court, but there really is no legal reason why you should have to report your income and pay a federal or state income tax.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the state that varies, I guess, by state. To say a lot of states do not have one. Like, Texas doesn't, Florida doesn't have one.
New Hampshire
doesn't. But no. New Hampshire doesn't have a sales tax.
Oh, sales tax, yeah.
But, so like the state ones, that's going to vary really depending on which one you're in. But the federal income tax is the big one. And that's something that, it was kind of the focus of this documentary. And I think, 8 years later, it's time to kind of revisit this and, the legacy of our Aaron Russo brought this issue to light, and we're going on 102 years of the Federal Reserve right now.
Right.
And most people, like you just said, they don't even know what the fuck it is. Like they don't. It's if you haven't watched it yet, just watch it on YouTube. It's free. You know,
it's available on YouTube,
Yeah.
and it's in its entirety, and
Yeah.
it's just eye-opening.
But the thing about the what's the
Sound editor just walked in.
Hold on. Hey, what's going on? But, keep going. Okay, good.
Keep on rolling.
Podcast. But the thing about the Federal Reserve is that it's a privately owned bank. Like, it's not a government agency. Most people are just like, oh, the tax man's coming to take away half my money every year, and I just pay to hire. I don't want any fucking trouble with them. Like, it's not the government that's taking your money. It's a fucking privately owned bank that prints money, which supposedly claims your money is worth something, even though there's no gold or anything backing it up anymore. No one knows who's actually running it, because they won't really. If I have the website open here, they say who the board of governors is, and there's like 5 people listed on it. They just changed who it is this year. Some woman, Janet Yellen. But like they don't list the whole board of directors there.
Right, and she's just a mouthpiece, kind of the publicist.
Yeah, like what was that guy? Bernanke. Like
Ben Bernanke, Alan Greenspan.
Yeah.
There's a trend in the last names there, if you care to dive into that too.
Yeah.
But these are things that are also understood by some people and shunned by others. That there are in fact connections between the Federal Reserve System and jewelry. These are non-debatable facts.
Venturing into Henry Ford territory.
Right. And we'll leave it at that. But we're not going to go down that road in this episode. But that's something we will certainly explore. That's a topic that particularly interests me. The connections between Freemasonry and mainstream Judaism.
Just in the Anunnaki landed here.
Right, and the
Nibiru years ago, yes. Yeah. Who created humans to harvest the gold, which was used, or rather supplanted by the Federal Reserve.
Oh, right.
That's
2,000 years ago.
That's where all the gold in Fort Knox disappeared. To
Nibiru?
Yeah, the Anunnaki came and took it back.
Well, the Anunnaki being the reptilian shapeshifters who bred with ancient Egyptians.
Yes, the Nephilim in the Bible.
Right. Well, the giants. Yes.
Yes. This is going to be like drinking from a fire hydrant, trying to dissect all this stuff. This is going to have to be multiple episodes trying to break all this down. But getting back to the Federal Reserve,
staying on topic. Yes, of course.
The Federal Reserve is, as we alluded to, it's a series of regional banks which are all like sort of merged together under the auspices of what's called the Federal Reserve System. And basically they lend the government money because the taxes the government takes in are not sufficient to pay for everything it does. The government isn't a company. It doesn't have to make a profit. It serves a different purpose. But most of your taxes, there's something in the documentary about this, like every penny of your federal income taxes goes to paying interest on the loans the Congress takes from the Federal Reserve. Like not one penny pays for defense or roads or anything like that. That's all like the corporate income tax, which was around before that, or like sales taxes and shit. The taxes on gasoline are what pays for paving roads.
For roads,
and that's
highway
more
services.
That's actually how the government was funded before 1913.
Well,
it was all like sales taxes and tariffs and stuff.
That was
sufficient to pay for everything. And then all of a sudden, like you turn on the propaganda on the news, and they're like, "Well, the whole country would collapse if no one paid their taxes."
Right? Who will build the roads?
Really? How did it fucking work before that?
Right. It's these the idea that it's a civic duty and it's patriotic to pay your taxes. Where in fact it's quite the opposite.
Joe Biden's gems, where he's like, paying taxes is patriotic.
Right.
That's, as Joe Biden quotes go, that one's actually not very embarrassing. Like the one where He told a crowd full of black people that Mitt Romney was going to put everyone in chains. He was like, Mitt Romney wants to put this country in chains. He's going to put you all back in chains. It's like,
right.
I don't know why he's allowed in public.
He's painful to watch at times.
He's like Harry Reid. You know him? back like at the beginning of Obama's first term when he was like the Senate Majority Leader, or like when he was first running for president in like 2007. Harry Reid was talking about what a wonderful candidate Obama is. He's very articulate. He has no Negro dialect or anything like that. And then he was all embarrassed about that. And then Obama had chose him to serve in his cabinet. No. I got getting mixed up. He was the Senate Majority Leader, and then he had to like come shambling into his office, hat in hand, and apologize.
Yeah,
and everything.
Right,
but
Harry Reid's a Mormon also.
Right.
So you know how they feel about African Americans. They have a long history of discrimination in the church, in the Mormon Church.
Mormons.
Yes.
The Mormons are a church unto themselves.
Yeah, the Church of Latter-day Saints.
Oh, okay. I was getting mixed up with the Masons. That's why I was puzzled.
Well, common, Mormons, Masons.
It's not tomato. The Masons are supposed to be against organized religion. Like they transcend it. I mean that's an episode all by itself, right?
Right, but aren't they in fact their own religion?
You're right.
They have a certain set beliefs.
Yeah, you heard this story about what's this thing like Buzz Aldrin? It's supposed to be like a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason.
Correct.
I keep in mind this was on an episode of Ancient Aliens. I learned this, and this is like not that that's not a reliable source. It most certainly is, but this is who is this guy? I'll get his name up here. And
the Greek guy?
No, not Georgios Tsoukalos. God, it's this fat dude who's like says the most. Michael Barra.
Oh, okay.
Michael, here, I'll get his face.
And what did he say exactly?
He's this chubby dude with a goatee, and this fucking dude.
Right.
He's the one that talked about how Vikings had ships that could fly, and
okay.
He said Buzz Aldrin was a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason and performed in orbit around the moon in the Apollo 11 module. He performed a Masonic ceremony. I'm like, you know that it was like a 6x4 foot room, and there were 2 other people in the room with him for like the 5 weeks they were up there. You don't think either one of them would have noticed that? Like,
no.
Neil Armstrong and the third man on the moon, whose name will always be forgotten because he was the third man on the moon.
You're diving into another topic here that we're not going to get into today. Yeah. But Buzz Aldrin, this man supposedly walked on the moon.
Oh, all right.
Okay. I'd like to see the real evidence. I'd like to see.
I don't know about.
I'd like to see the U.S. go back.
I don't know about this, Mr. Revere.
Look, it all makes sense. If you look at that, it was a space race. It was the U.S. versus Russia.
Yeah.
History books are going to tell us 200 years from now that the U.S. did this purposely to bankrupt Russia.
Yes, that was Interstellar. That was like part of the plot in Interstellar, is that they're purposely like telling kids in school that the moon landing never happened in order to discourage space travel,
right?
As if there's that many people that wanted to do it and encourage everyone to be farmers instead and grow okra and shit. But
in any event, maybe we should reconvene back at the topic at hand.
Yes, getting back to the reptilian banking cartel. Basically, the reason why this is such an issue and why Russo even bothered to make a documentary about this is he wanted to look up, is there an actual law that requires you to pay a federal income tax? Mm-hmm. And he spent like 3 months researching it, and he couldn't find like an explicit law that says, yes, you must file a 1040 for this reason.
Right.
And so he went to he interviewed someone at the IRS, and you saw that interview, right? The guy just was just like shifting in his seat the whole. He put on his sunglasses so he wouldn't have to make eye contact, and he's just like stuttering.
It's like they know the big secret. Yeah, they're all they're still protecting it.
Yeah, the guy is being called out. He knows his whole career is based on a fucking lie. And what the IRS is basically a government-sanctioned extortion ring. Mm-hmm. People will just pay the taxes just so they won't have any trouble with them.
Exactly.
Because there's a fairly large amount of people at this point that know about this, and they're like not large enough to say the majority. I wouldn't even say like a quarter, but still 310 million people. That's a lot. Like most people, even if they know, or they can make a pretty compelling case that there isn't a law that requires it, they'll just do it anyway because they don't want to run into trouble with the IRS.
And who would? They'll destroy your life. There's countless cases. Yeah. I mean, why the IRS agents have the ability to carry firearms is beyond me. Why are they doing raids on houses over?
Well, that case they cited in the film where they were interviewing the guy, I think that was because the guy's bookie
set him up.
There's a reliable source.
Right.
The guy's bookie told them they were selling drugs as well. So I think there was like the ATF involved as well, which is why they had guns. But because I've heard of the IRS like raiding places before.
Right.
But I think what they're looking for usually is like documents before people stuff them in a paper shredder. They're like.
Right, but they also have handguns too.
Some of them, I don't know if IRS agents carry handguns.
I believe many of them do. Yeah.
That particular case, they were suspected of like cooking meth or something in their house. But
in any event, the case, the case, your point that you're trying to make is that people would rather not deal with the hassle of being basically bankrupted.
Yeah, and like people that tried to fight it in court. They were saying, like, the Supreme Court ruled in 1916, so they were trying to nip this in the bud right when it started.
Right.
The 16th Amendment does not allow the government to charge, basically there's two different kinds of taxes, direct and indirect taxes. And indirect taxes are where most of the revenue came from, like tariffs, sales taxes, and whatnot. But prior to this, direct taxes on people's income were not allowed, with the exception of, I did a little research, like during the Civil War, there was like a 3% tax on people's income to help raise the army.
Right.
But that went away after the war, I believe. But enough people were protesting this that the Supreme Court was like, no, you can't do this. But if there were cases in the film where people tried to cite that case in lower courts,
and they weren't allowed.
And the judge is just like, I won't allow that in my courtroom, which is like, your stupid regional court is higher than the Supreme Court? No, it isn't. But
nothing happens. They're not allowed to make the valid points. And
it's like, I know, I didn't go to law school. I could have. Some people tell me I should have, but I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court is higher than a district court.
Right.
And that's what this comes down to, is that the Constitution says that the Congress has the authority to create currency and print it and everything. So why did they voluntarily give it away to this private entity, which then charges them interest to do something they could have done without needing to pay interest on it?
Well, they didn't do it voluntarily.
Explain. You lost me.
Well, I believe that essentially the creation of the Federal Reserve could be comparable to a hostile takeover of a company.
Yeah.
Whereas it was done in secret, while most of Congress was on Christmas vacation,
they
December
passed it
23rd.
on like the day before Christmas Eve.
Right.
There's like 16 people in the Congress, and they just voted on it then.
Exactly. And this was all thought up of
Yeah.
on, Jackal Island, I believe, somewhere off of Maryland or something like that.
Yes,
And
like
they had
South Carolina or something. Like all the financial titans back then,
Rockefeller.
like J.P. Morgan.
Right.
One of the Rothschilds was there.
The Rothschild.
Yeah, that's
Mayor Rothschild.
we're gonna have a lot of fun with the Rothschilds on this show.
Yes.
I hope they're listening.
Uncle Rothschild.
Yeah, but basically they came up with this idea because the European countries already had central banks, but America did not, and they thought their argument was that our economy was uniquely vulnerable because of this. And the intention was that they would. There was a whole bunch of like bank runs, like everyone trying to run to the bank, take their money out at once, and it was happening over and over and over again. The most recent one was in 1907, and they were like, "This is just going to keep happening unless we have
some sort of oversight committee."
Yeah.
Right.
But it's like, what was causing the runs on the banks? Like,
Exactly.
how do you know that wasn't just orchestrated right from the start? It's like they had the ability to do that.
So why not do it? Create this false flag
And then they swoop into the rescue. It was just like, was it like J.P. Morgan, like personally bailed out New York City, like all by himself. He bought like $30 million in bonds.
Right.
And like the city itself would have gone bankrupt had he not done that, and that he, that saved the city, but now one dude basically owns New York City now.
51% or whatever you want to look at it. And that's a scary thought too.
Yeah.
And it's not one person anymore, but it's one entity that basically runs this country.
The thing is, like back then, you knew who it was who was running it.
Exactly.
Right now, you have no fucking idea.
It's the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, there's
no
the
identity.
There's the little media puppet showpieces, like the
Janet Yellen.
Yeah, that they that they parade in front of the camera and tell you this is an educated person we have who's going to lead us out of the recession, but no one knows who the fuck these people are.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, and these are the people that really run the country. Like, it doesn't really matter who wins an election. The chairman of the Federal Reserve is chosen by the president from a list of people that is created by this board, this mythical board of people who no one knows who they all are. Once again, there's 5 names on the website. The board is more than that. But the president gets to choose from a list of names that is prepared for him by these people.
By this shadowy group.
Yeah, so you can be sure whichever person he ends up choosing, they're going to win. Like,
right. And Republican or Democrat, you're still getting the same list.
Yeah. And that's, like,
what's up with that?
I don't know. What do you do at this point? What you basically have is an oligarchy where there's this unelected class of bankers and these alphabet agency douchebags that run the country. Like, every couple years they have a dog and pony show of an election, and everyone's like, well, I'm voting for so-and-so because he went to the pancake breakfast in Des Moines and really yucked it up with me. I'm about to have a beer with him. So,
but like you said, it's right and left, and really it's all on the same path towards the same end.
Yeah.
If you look at the Obama administration, you look at the Bush administration, and tell me what the differences were over the past 20 years.
Coke and Pepsi.
Exactly.
One of them was black, half black. So that's.
Did Obama close Guantanamo Bay?
No.
Did Obama end the wars like he said he would?
Yeah, well, officially,
not really, but he started other ones in Yemen and other parts of the Middle East, I suppose.
You don't really know what's going on in these other areas. Like, how many Like there'll be some like 30-second talking announcement how there was a drone strike in Yemen. Are there any videos? Is anyone on the ground there, like knowing what's going on? And that's assuming the media is telling the truth, which is
probably not
almost
true.
Certainly not happening. But
yeah,
can we get into the real ID cards?
Yeah,
okay, we need to.
We should probably get on that topic.
this
ID cards, chips, identification for government purposes. It's, what happened to a driver's license, and that's it.
Well, they were talking about that. They wanted to modify driver's licenses so it had like fingerprint on or something like that. Which actually mine does. If you want to hand me my wallet, it's in there. I still have a Virginia license, and it has a holographic.
Really?
It's either an image of it. It's either a hologram of my face or
that's
my
creepy.
Fingerprint inside the driver's license itself. But the idea was they were gonna like synchronize everyone's photo IDs into like one uniform type of national ID that everyone has to carry with them at all times.
Show me your papers.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like in Germany, whenever the
that's
SS
bizarre.
are just strolling around the street,
right.
They ask to see
Well, they're
papers.
Strolling around now.
Yeah, if you don't
call
have
NYPD.
Yeah. I bet, it's my understanding, used to be anyway, that you're not legally obligated to show an ID to a cop if you don't want to. But nowadays, they will probably arrest you for that.
Right, I don't believe you have to. Unless you're in New York City, where stop and frisk is the law. Which is
New York City is a fucking police. Have you been to New York lately?
Yeah,
down to Manhattan. There's like 6 cops on every street corner.
Right, and it's not just cops. And this was before the shootings and whatnot. But 2 years ago, walking through New York City, there's 2 police officers on a corner with assault rifles. Yeah, and this is it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
You're standing next to a guy dressed as Spider-Man and another one dressed as Mickey Mouse, and you're wearing like SWAT gear and holding an assault rifle.
Right. Well, this is the fear state that we're in.
Beginning to make sense. It does.
9/11. The terrorists want to kill us.
Yeah, exactly. Bearded men in caves, 6'5" Arabs on dialysis want to blow us up. Do you think Bin Laden was really killed?
I
don't know. This is
yes.
an old story,
I don't. Probably
it's
not.
like,
he probably died of natural causes about 9 years ago.
Yeah. Well, like Al Qaeda apparently verified that he's dead and everything. He's like he's a great martyr, blah 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 blah. But like. It's weird that, like, they made such a big deal. Oh, we found him. We shot him. He's dead. Oh, but we're not going to show you any pictures.
Right, and we're going to bury him in 2 hours.
We're going to give him a little Islamic burial at sea within 24 hours, like it commands in the Quran, just so we can destroy all the evidence.
Right.
And
we're so religiously tolerant of him that we shot him in the fucking head.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. The whole story is laughable. I can't... What a bullshit story to tell the American people. I don't understand. I really don't.
It's
And what's the point now, anyway? Nobody cares. I remember the day that they shot Bin Laden, or they announced on the news that he was dead. And, it was basically closing the book on that section of the American history, I guess, but...
Well, that's what it was intended to be. It didn't really. I mean, they were still...
We're still in Iraq. We're still in Afghanistan. It's done nothing. It hasn't deterred people from terror plots, supposedly. I mean, we had this incident in Paris just this week, last week, whatever it was.
2 French brothers that shot up the newspaper. And then that's what I like. They just printed it anyway.
Right. And that's the difference between the U.S. and France.
Yeah, and it's sold like 1 million copies. They had to do a second printing of it, I think, because they had published it in like 16 languages when normally it's just in French. and they had to do multiple printings because so many people wanted to buy it.
Right.
The cartoon of Muhammad on the cover, which is good. Fuck them. I don't care.
Yeah.
They just do it. Like,
what's the point? That's what I say. Who cares? Not worth shooting people over, but you know what? The least you could say about these people is that they stand for what they believe in. I will say that.
Well, yeah, and that's more than can be said for most people in America.
Exactly.
As long as they have American Idol and the NFL and Pornhub, like most people aren't going to.
Well, let's stay
most
away
people
from
aren't-
Pornhub.
yeah.
That's a very highly successful website. With
Hold
many hits.
on here.
Okay.
Let's not pass judgment.
And one of our potential sponsors at some point here, okay?
In the
This
process
is an
of-
admirable business, and we want
did you-
nothing but positive vibes
Yeah.
sending towards them.
Did you hear about that Lebanese chick who did a porn?
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah, I'm
started-
familiar. I've reviewed her work before,
Yeah.
so.
Was
right.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's talented. And I believe ISIS has a price on her head.
Really?
Yeah, so which should be interesting.
Now, does that mean they want her dead, or they just want her to work with them in?
I think they
the
want her
Islamic
dead.
State?
I think they want her
Is
dead.
there a burgeoning porn industry in the Islamic
I
State?
don't think so. Something tells me that if they don't have running water, they don't have a porn industry.
I think wasn't she like wearing a burqa?
Yes,
Doing it or something.
I
like
believe in one of the scenes. One of the scenes that I might have come across, there was
hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetically, might have come across. There was two women portrayed as traditional Muslims,
Yeah.
and they I believe it was a mother and daughter pair, and they both persuaded a young gentleman on a motorcycle to come inside and engage in various activities with the two of them at the same time. So, in any event, like I said, I don't know the exact details, but
it should have in this next film. It should be the two of them, and then have the guy dressed as an American soldier.
American Sniper.
Or like, what's her name? Mia
Something. Yeah.
Mia Khalifa. That's
Yes.
what it was.
Yes.
Like she's wearing only an ISIS flag.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's. I would guess that she's not a practicing Muslim. Something would tell me that.
Drinks alcohol. That's what it was like when I was in Turkey, in the airport.
Everybody drank alcohol.
Yeah, everyone was just sitting in bars and shit in the air. Like I wasn't able to leave the airport, but everyone was like drinking it. Like there's a huge brand of beer sold only in Turkey. It's called like Erdogan or something like that. It's really good. It's really
and it's
good.
not specifically targeted for the minority Christians in that
like,
country.
no, everyone drinks there. No one cares.
That's
Turkey's unusual though. It's very secular compared to most Muslim countries.
I did hear that actually. I had a professor in college that went to Bosnia.
So don't swing that.
That went to Bosnia and noticed that all the practicing Muslims like to partake in blackberry brandy, and it was like their thing. That's what they drank the entire time. And
is it like real brandy? Does it get you drunk?
yeah, it was real brandy, and they kind of just ignored the fact that they weren't supposed to have alcohol and drank this brandy.
Ugh.
But I wonder if that's more of the those countries as opposed to the Middle East. I don't know.
Well, well, probably like the Arab countries are more strict, but I think most cultures have that kind of cognitive dissonance. It's like in some very more traditional Christian countries where girls take it up the butt, but not in the vagina because they're not really having sex and they're still a virgin afterwards.
But isn't sodomy punishable by stoning?
Well,
in the Old
that's not
Testament?
sodomy. That's only if it's two men. That's it. If it's a man and a woman, it's just butt sex. It's not
Valid
sodomy
point.
with
Valid
a capital
point.
S. Read your Leviticus, Bill.
I guess. Wow.
Read
Okay.
your Deuteronomy.
Good point. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I will have to go back to check the Old Testament about the prophecies about the Federal Reserve being.
Actually, that was a beautiful segue, I must say. If we what I wanted to touch on briefly was the speaking of biblical texts.
Yeah.
Our great brother Alex Jones did a famous interview with Aaron Russo, and the majority part of his interview, well, basically the highlight, was Russo discussing his friendship with one of the Rockefellers.
Yeah.
Okay, Nicholas Rockefeller. And I don't know if you were familiar with this story, but basically what Nick Rockefeller told Aaron Russo.
And who's Nick Rockefeller? Is that like...
Supposedly he's a member of the Rockefeller dynasty. One of these guys,
Yeah, because one of them's a senator. I think it's David Rockefeller.
Right.
Is that like his son or his nephew?
I don't know the family tree of the Rockefeller family.
I'll keep going. I'll look it up.
In any event, these two become friends, and something that I wanted to talk about earlier was this Aaron Russo guy. He's not just some mouthpiece. He's not just some radio guy, some activist. He's an established film producer, makes documentaries. He was a musical producer. He managed music acts, and he was a well-established person before getting into this whole conspiracy theory stuff, if you will.
Yeah.
And with that being said, he became friends with the Rockefeller. And after a couple meetings, and I believe 3 years into their friendship, this Nicholas Rockefeller character opened the door on Aaron Russo, basically asking him to join the Council on Foreign Affairs, one of those Illuminati groups, I like to call them.
The Council on Foreign Relations?
Council on Foreign Relations, not the Trilateral Commission, one of those groups. Bilderberg, these play date groups for the rich, elite, and powerful. So, in any event, this Rockefeller character tells Aaron Russo that there's going to be an event. Now, this is pre-9/11. He tells him that there's going to be an event, and it's going to affect the U.S., and it's going to result in the U.S. going to war in the Middle East, getting oil from Iraq, also dealing with oil in South America, specifically Venezuela.
It's like when Hugo Chavez was
Correct.
in power.
Correct.
And when was this?
This is, I believe it was 1999, 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was definitely pre-9/11. And he gives specifics about what's going to happen. There's going to be this war on terror, this kind of shadowy war that's not very specific, no real enemy, the enemy's hidden, kind of similar to communism in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
He also talked with Nicholas Rockefeller about basically the future of the United States and its role in the world. Getting into some New World Order type stuff.
Yeah.
Chips, implantable chips into the hand, which would control all currency. Okay.
Yeah.
And
so it's like your credit card is like embedded in the palm of your hand, and you can't.
Right. It's like a debit card. Like this Apple Pay now. Instead of showing your phone, you'd show your hand or something to that extent.
Oh shit!
Which is fucking creepy, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And the Rockefeller guy was basically saying that all these bank accounts would be run through your chip. Okay, debit, credit, etc.
Yeah.
And have all your transaction histories, everything.
Yeah.
And if you opposed this, system, this new world order, if you will, all they'd have to do is shut your chip off, and you couldn't buy or sell or do anything.
Yeah.
Which is a direct reference, I believe, to the Book of Revelations, which discusses the mark of the beast, which is implanted into the hand, the right hand, or the forehead,
Really?
and it controls the power of. I believe it says you won't be able to buy or sell goods. Now, it's pretty interesting that this guy, this Rockefeller character, is bringing this up, and it has stunning connections to the Old Testament. I don't know if it's truth. I don't know if it's just coincidence. I don't know. We have no idea what these characters, the Rockefellers, and
I'm trying to
the
look
elite.
this. I'm trying to look this guy up. There's not much information on him.
Nick Rockefeller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't researched him specifically, but
Nicholas is not listed on the Rockefeller family page on Wikipedia.
maybe
Well,
it's
there are
a purposeful.
Yeah, his information has been scrubbed from the Rand Corporation, Perkins Coie, and Pacific Council on International Policy. Whoa.
See?
You think he was,
No, he wasn't killed. He was just erased from public information. The Rockefeller family is one of those families, old money U.S., they can pretty much do anything. So if they want to make one of their own disappear because they were... this Nick Rockefeller guy looks like a fat moron, too. So maybe he's like the black sheep of the family and who opened his mouth
it's
to
possible.
the wrong person.
Yeah,
and maybe they did kill him. Maybe he's on the bottom of some pond in Canada or something.
Yeah, it's like the family embarrassment that
Right.
no one wants. Like they just invite him to family outing because they feel bad. And,
Yeah.
like that, no one wants him there, but they'll feel guilty or they're afraid he'll find out that everyone got together without him. So
Right. So they all went to the Masonic Lodge without him, or
they all
they went to the Shriners Hospital to worship Baphomet in the basement, and they forgot to call Nicholas.
Yeah, they left him behind back on Nibiru, and they were visiting their
the
home
spaceship.
world. Yeah. He won't be able to come back till the next galactic alignment, but as foretold in the cuneiform tablets. Yeah.
Right.
Giorgio Tsoukalos. No, it's Zacharias Stitchin represent.
Of course. But in any event, I mean, pretty stunning accusations that Russo makes, and I think that's probably the most damning evidence of a new world order, of an agenda, a secret agenda, of a puppeteer in the U.S. and in the world right now.
Well, it seems like that's the case because this similar dynamic is like playing out in like every country because like every country has a central bank right now except for like North Korea, Cuba, and I think Iran doesn't have one.
Right, and look at them now,
yeah,
ostracized from the world.
They're all on the U.S.'s shit list, although the U.S. seems to be warming up to Iran because of ISIS. But
and Cuba most recently.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because Raul Castro is more willing to play ball.
Right. Will there be another Bay of Pigs invasion? Who knows?
But
I don't know why we give a shit about a tiny ass island.
Because a lot of people like Ernest Hemingway had houses there, and they got it taken away. It pissed a lot of people off. That's what that and the missiles, but that everyone knows about that. But basically, when I was listening to this, I'm surprised they haven't just tried to ban cash. Like, because cash is like anonymous, like that.
Right.
It's
untraceable.
They talked about like printing like those RFID chips onto money itself, which I'm surprised they haven't do. Maybe they did already and just haven't.
Yeah, there's a strip in the new $100 bills, which maybe that's it.
It could be. It could be, but like they could ban physical currency. But I mean, what do you do in that case? I guess you could form like an illegal currency, like the blue dollar in Argentina
or Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's
something
part
untraceable.
Of the reason I think they're so scared of things like Bitcoin is that it's. I think the Bitcoin is worth more than the dollar right now, and it's it directly it's something they can't control.
Right. That's the biggest thing. Gold, you can't control. It's physical. If I have silver in my house,
yeah,
it's something that they're not going to know about.
Yeah.
If I have money in my bank account, it's something that they can control. They can seize my assets. They can do whatever the fuck they want with it.
Yeah.
And that's the terrifying thing. It's all about control. They don't give a shit if we pay each other in olives, as long as they have control over
the olives.
Yeah.
So why are they doing it? Because it's not like they need the money. These people have like trillions of dollars, if what I'm reading on the Prison Planet forum is to be believed.
Oh, of course. It's a very scholarly news article.
No, it's legit.
No,
it's legit. I should log on and make an account. But
why do they do this? Why do they do this? Well, I mean, that could be a show in and of itself right there. But
do you subscribe to the population reduction theory?
Oh, of course. Oh, the Georgia Guidestones, Agenda 21, depopulation. Of course, these are real things.
That I don't know much about. I need to research that. I know about the Guidestones. I don't know.
We should do an Agenda 21 show.
It sounds like it's.
Let's do that. We should. That'll be our next show. Everybody, that'll be our next show. Agenda 21.
That's like a supposed population reduction plan. It's like
partially yes.
Now is that done by like the
gun control, the UN?
This is from the UN. This isn't like U.S. government.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Damn. So that. That's the thing about this stuff. Is like it's like a tree that keeps sprouting new branches the further the conversation goes. Like one thing leads to another. If you uncover one little thing, it's connected to like 6 other things.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Federal Reserve is using the U.S. government as an enforcement mechanism or the IRS and the other agencies as an enforcement mechanism to preserve its own power. I used to think like the military-industrial complex, which everyone knows about. It's not like that's a secret. I used to think that was like the be-all and end-all of the power structure in the U.S. And the reality is, you start digging, it's only one part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big part. It's the most like
probably profitable.
Oh, it's obscenely profitable. Are you kidding me? Like you know how much money? I mean that's part of where a lot of tax money goes. Maybe not income tax money, but like the F-35 fighter. And back when I was living in DC, I used to work with a lot of people that worked at these defense contractors, including one that was on this project. And he like vanished for 2 weeks because they were in like crisis mode trying to iron out some problems with the jet.
Really?
Yeah, and
right. And for what?
I don't know. Like
what is this jet gonna do?
It's supposedly like it's the policy of the DoD that whatever technology we have has to be like at least one generation ahead of anything else another country is capable of having. So like,
what about another planet?
Oh, let me finish here. That's because that is connected, believe it or not. So
alien technology.
Yeah.
Lockheed Martin connections.
Yeah.
Area
Our skunk works. We're going strap in, people. Shit's about to get weird.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
we got 12 minutes to be weird.
But yeah, that's like it's like almost $1 trillion down the toilet just ironing out problems with the F-35. Because each time it's ready, something like the vertical takeoff thing fucks up, and it's just about ready to go, and then some catastrophic thing which they just happen to discover as they're assembling them.
Right.
They have to go back and iron that out, and it's this perpetual cycle.
You would have thought after 50 years of reverse engineering the alien technology that crashed in Area 51, they would have mastered the vertical takeoff.
That's the thing. Like, that's the theory, is that all these projects are just basically a PR stunt. Like they already have like spaceships and shit that can go to like travel faster than light and everything. They've like reverse engineered UFOs, and that this is just whatever they want to show the public, or just our fighter jets and fiber optic cables and stuff that they deem, all right, this is safe enough to let the peons have it. We can release this to the public. Right. But who knows? Maybe they've been flying back to Nibiru since 1947.
Who's that dude from Florida who built the castle, the Coral Castle in Florida?
I don't know his name. What does that have to do with this?
Technology.
Well, we're getting into how the pyramids were built there.
Now, supposedly this guy was able to use...
It's such a broad-ranged conversation here.
He was able to use... eyewitnesses claim that he had cones in each hand.
Little ice cream cones.
Right, and he was able to
little
levitate.
Lifted up the bricks.
Yeah. And now, I did see something on some sort of History Channel thing where sound waves at certain pitches can cause solid items to levitate, and they can be controlled if you generate opposing sound waves.
Yeah, there's sonic levitation. Yeah, there's videos of that on YouTube. They're like floating a ping pong ball or something.
Right, but you can control it, just like air, I guess, controlling the airwaves and guide it into certain directions or whatever.
Yeah. But that's crazy stuff, man. Like I was saying, you start talking about the last 5 minutes that illustrates that whole point. You dive into this stuff just a little bit, it opens up Pandora's box, and you can go in like 8 different directions with it, and it's all connected. It's just far too much to take it up all in one sitting. It's makes your head spin. All you can do is make these dick and fart jokes, which we intersperse our conversation with periodically. As it's really a coping mechanism. Like as we're being loaded into the cattle cars of the FEMA death camps, we'll be remembering these jokes we made on this podcast, and we'll be coming up with new ones.
And hoping that other people found them amusing.
Yeah.
And that this hour that we spent together was not in vain.
Yeah. So in the words and in the spirit of Aaron Russo, don't let them get away with it. Stand up for your rights. Do something. Try to take this a little more seriously than we did here. And
look, if everybody at least understood that they're being fucked, understood that we're getting pushed to death camps, understood that we're already 1 foot on the train to Auschwitz, then we'd be in a better place. It's better to look at your attacker in the eyes and to understand why your attacker's doing it than to have your back to him.
That's true. Or you can stick your head in the ground like an ostrich, or you can fucking face it. Oh, damn, we covered a lot there. That was like a whole season's worth of shit right there.
Well, yeah, we got enough of
that. We barely scratched the surface on this stuff, but I mean...
Episode 2 is going to have to expand our conversation more.
Yeah.
Like I said, Agenda 21. We're going to have to dive into that head first.
We've gotten into the what and the how. The what is control of the currency and the population. The how, the mechanism by which it's done, the Federal Reserve. Why it's being done is what we're going to get into in the next episode. This has been Riders of Brohan. I am Prometheus.
And I am William Revere.
Thanks for joining us. Wait, there's the